Can you guys smell it in the air?
I'm eating it.
I'm currently dining on the electricity that is the Bitcoin all-time highs. So yeah, we're gonna get into like 18 million things.
Yeah, I'm currently dining.
I can.
That is the Bitcoin all-time highs.
Oh, you know what? I think that's me.
So, yeah, we're gonna get into like 18 million things.
No, that's one of you guys. Hold on.
We're gonna get into 21 million things.
Jimmy, if you have headphones, get them because we could hear all of that. Anyway, yeah, we're getting into all the things. Happy bull run. Feel free to share this out to all of the people who are as excited as we are. But first, we're starting with the Bitcoin Anthem today because we got M Blue in the house. And this is a song that we made for you.
And it's an NFT on Wax AtomicHub.io.
It is. In fact, throw your Wax count in the comments, and you're either going to get a tiny little uplift.art comment NFT or maybe a pack. I'll probably give away a pack. Maybe
real quick, Corey, did we nail the timing on this bad boy or what?
Yes. We're gonna talk. We need to talk about all that stuff because I keep looking at, we're looking at the DeFi capital inflow in like Block One's new announcement over the last 24 or 48 hours, whatever it is, and all of that is going to feed into the chains that have been building this kind of thing for a while. Times NFTs, it's just going to be a big old mess. We'll be back in a few minutes. Share this out. Make sure you put your Wax comment or comment your Wax address in the comments there. And here we go. It's gonna be a morning.
A Bitcoin bull is all I got left. Sold my house, gold no less. Wolves are suckling, hard hands. This man's stronger than the average man. I'm not the bubble, I'm the pen. I'm not the bubble, I'm the pen. I'm not the bubble, I'm the pen. I'm not the bubble. I'm not the bubble. Day the markets take another day to restart and refuel this boom boy ship. My dreams may be futile, but it's you say, well, my dreams may be futile, but Bitcoin bull keeps charging away. Oh, you see, my Bitcoin bull keeps charging away. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm not the bubble. 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 I'm not the bubble, 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 I'm the I'm not the bubble, I'm the pen. I'm not the bubble, I'm the pen. I'm not the bubble, I'm the I'm not the bubble, 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 I'm the pen. I'm not the bubble, I'm the pen. I'm not the bubble, I'm the pen. I'm not the bubble, I'm the pen.
Oh yeah. I think we should just play that every time Bitcoin hits a new 1,000. Just like, here we go. So which means we got to play it 2 more times. Yeah, so I'm just gonna go ahead and unmute everybody. We'll make sure our sound isn't crazy. Could you guys say hello again, please?
Yeah.
Hello.
All right. Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, and I apologize for that. I was me actually. So here's what happened. I had the link open for the live stream in the YouTube, and then when I exited the studio, I could still hear the music, and I thought I was like channeling the inner, bull or something. It took me a while.
You heard it in your mind. I get that feedback a lot. Like people have this tune in their heads, and I don't blame them because it's catchy as hell.
Well, and just that sultry, sexy voice. Huh? Who the hell is that guy?
I don't know. We hired out some guy we met on the back alley. That's what happened. Anyway, yeah, man, that legitimately, I've been in music for a long time. That's probably easily in the top 3 songs that I ever got to collaborate on. And I've been really, really lucky in that regard. So Blue, welcome to EOSIO Weekly Update with me and Jimmy. For any of you guys who don't know, Blue and I collaborated on this song and another shorter version called "I'm Not the Bubble." We did an entire NFT drop on it, raised like $30,000 for a charity in the process. You can check all that stuff out at uplift.art. I'm sure we'll talk about it some more, but that is still ongoing. You can still get some of that stuff, but it was a resounding success. And we're going to be doing a lot more stuff in the future. And seriously, I think legitimately, if you're on Twitter, if you're following me on Twitter, prepare to be annoyed for the next 18 months because every time Bitcoin gains another 1,000, I'm going to play this tune. And so that might happen 200 more times this year.
Yeah, we're in new territory, guys. Congratulations to everybody that has been in this sector for, since 2017 and before.
Right.
Because it's just been one hellish ride, right? I'm still holding on to tokens and crap that just no longer exist, right?
Yep.
I've got 5 million SIG tokens from a project called Signal, right? And thought it was going to be like this amazing, huge VR platform, and it's gone. But hey, I've got 5 million SIGs, right? But but fortunately, I held on to other right positions, and they're not looking too shabby. But yeah, it's been a hell of a long bear market. This recent new all-time high in Bitcoin is awesome. It's historic. I mean, it's really showing it solidifies that there is a new asset class for sure, because now you've got institutions jumping into the sector. They're also exposing the fact that they've been buying over the last 3 years in the back room, right? Now they're showing their hands, which tells us they're ready to let this thing roll, because they wouldn't be coming out now saying, "Oh, by the way, we've been, we own $1 billion worth of Bitcoin now, and we've been accumulating for the last 3 years." They wouldn't be showing their hands like that if they weren't ready to let it roll. And now it's just blue sky, meaning it's not price discovery. It's, what does the global world market think that this thing is worth? And I think with the dollar and fiat currencies, like the song says, we're not the bubble, we're the pin. And we're seeing that fiat fiasco unraveling in real time right now because of the immense corruption and just overprinting of currencies, the debt super cycle that's been created for the last 50 years or more. So yeah, it's the time of Bitcoin and crypto. I love Bitcoin, crypto, and precious metals. I think that I hate the drop gold campaign. I mean, come on, we're on the same team here. It's drop fiat, right?
Yeah, we both lost about the same amount of hair in the last 2-3 years. So I mean, yeah, we're on the same team.
Yeah, we all have pretty big foreheads here.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm fine.
Yeah.
Fine.
But yeah,
I'm okay.
I mean, if you were in Australia today, it's crazy times. Like you said, it's unexplored territory. If you were in Australia today, you saw $30,000,
$30K odd, yeah,
$30K, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, you mentioned this maybe last week, Corey, but today we went up like crazy. We shot up since last night at around this time. And there was, we're always worried about these, down candles. There was $1,000 5-minute drop. Like we're back, like, in the days that not very many people will remember. Like, I think it's going to be really interesting to see what happens next. Like you said, there's a lot of altcoins, and there's people coming out revealing positions that we didn't know we had. Corey sent me a tweet earlier today. Brendan Blummer came out and revealed a position that we didn't know he had. He basically said, yeah, we have all that Bitcoin and we've been accumulating more
apparently. Yeah. So we need to, let's dig into that. So I actually just saw you repost. I guess they just tweeted this a little while ago. Block One introducing their proposal for a new resource model on Eos. Did you watch that video? Is it any good?
Yeah, I watched it. It's like a 2-minute video.
Yeah. You guys want to watch it?
Sure. Yeah.
All right. Then we could discuss, because I mean that we've been busting Block One's balls pretty much every ChirpCast since I started, and I'm gonna eat some crow like that. When I'm wrong, I'm gonna say it. And
we've been busting
launched, the Eos network has surged to support more than 80% of all public blockchain activity on average.
Oh, is that all? Just 80% of it all? Oh, good. Okay.
And staying the most performant public blockchain means always improving. That's why Block One is proposing a new resource model for Eos.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm just going to play OK Stop the whole time, but we should totally lift that riff out of the back of this video and just make something cool out of it. Just like a little Eos love song.
Yeah. Currently.
The EOS, what would be the EOS version of I'm Not the Bubble? We'll have to think about that.
Something about a frickin' like you're driving a wagon, we're driving a jet plane.
Yeah.
What's that?
And about a needle in a haystack there, because that's pretty much what Eos is going to be. I think they're going to be the needle in the haystack for sure, man.
That's definitely possible.
Resources in exchange for locking up tokens. This process leaves many resources unused, but also unavailable to other users, which creates instances when users are unable to transact despite the network having resources sitting idle.
Every Shipple user 2 years ago.
We're proposing a more efficient system. We call it the Eos Power Up Model. It's a flexible model that would allow users to power up their account CPU and nets for 24 hours for a small amount of Eos. And token holders can offset this small cost by locking up their unused Eos tokens, which earns them a portion of the fees generated.
Okay, I'm so sorry to keep doing this, but we could actually get like some of her speaking and embed it halfway through the song as like a weird trippy. Anyway,
yeah, we could reverse it,
right? Yeah. This is what happens when you let musicians into crypto. It's gonna get weird. I'm sorry. I mean, I'm not sorry, but
little flange delay going on.
Yeah. A little phase action going on. It's gonna get weird.
From those using the network. The Eos Power Up model would further reduce the cost of user onboarding and enable application developers to remove resource costs from the average user experience entirely. making Eos an ideal platform for use cases like programmable finance. Aligned, efficient, and performant.
Honestly, like just grab those 3 words.
With this proposed model, Eos can continue to be the leader in providing seamless user experiences indistinguishable from your average application, all while delivering the power of blockchain. Power up your account. Power up Eos. Learn more at eos.io.
All right, so yay, new staking model. Like the thing that really sticks out to me, and Fred Krueger from Proton has been talking about this a lot, and he was right. With Lynx, he's right with Proton, is that you need to remove the resource allocation, the requirement of resources away from the end user, because the end user, if we want to get past us crypto nerds, they're not going to get into that. Like that friction is like it's not a slight problem. It's a game ender for them, right? Like they're not going to go and find out, where to stake shit on blocks.io to rent Rex to your neighbor, right? Like they're just not going to look into that stuff.
Well, I have a question. What and this is I'm kind of being an ass here, but what's the easiest blockchain to onboard on right now at present? Anyone know?
Wax
all day.
Is there an easier blockchain than Wax?
It's one click, but the problem with Wax is buying Wax then, right?
Wow.
So it's easy. It's easy to open an account. It's one click, right? But then it's like, well, then what do I do now? I don't have any Wax in my account. So then you have to figure out, well, what region am I in? What exchange? So if they can figure out how do I get Wax in my account easy? That's the next big hurdle.
Yeah, Proton's working on fiat rails a lot. They I think, and again, like this, Kurt was talking about this too, right? You want to have the family of EOS.io networks all talking to each other seamlessly, and I think there's going to be different specializations, right? So Proton conceivably could be specialized in fiat rails. I mean, EOS with what they're doing, I mean, there's going to be KYC. I think anybody who's against KYC at this point is going to be they might hate the next 5 years, because I think that's coming whether we like it or not. Yeah. Maybe I could be wrong, but it looks to be that way. Where
you are.
I got to clear something up too, because it is easy to open a Wax account and get Wax into that account. They do have Simplex and some other mechanic in the wallet to where you can buy Wax. Yeah. However, I'm in one of those regions where you cannot use those services to buy Wax. So again, I guess if you're in whatever region, you can do those types of purchases in wallet. It's easy. But I guess for me and probably many others, you can't use those services yet because of the US regulations.
Right. So then it's like, Coinbase, wait a gazillion years, buy some EOS, send some EOS to Nudex, understand what all of those things are, change some EOS for Wax, and then you got lots of Wax.
Well, I mean, so I think the issue with Wax as well I don't have a problem with it. I think it's great. Same reason I don't have a problem with Wombat, but the issue for a lot of crypto people is the fact that you technically don't own your keys. It's social login, which we need social login. So actually, to go back to where I was going with that question, I actually thought that there might be something that's easier to get into than EOS. Like, I don't really count Wax as a valid answer because that's just too easy. And that's kind of where we need to be in a way. But like that's the thing, right? Like EOS is the closest thing to, like, if you look at Ethereum, or like Ethereum's not too bad. I mean, you got to go through the learning process of MyEther wallet and MetaMask and stuff like that. It's a little bit complicated, but I mean, I guess even EOS is complicated. But I mean, find me anyone in the space that actually knows how to open a Bitcoin wallet, and I'll be pretty impressed, because nobody knows how to open a Bitcoin wallet, man. They're all using like third-party wallets that essentially carry either primary Bitcoin or what's it called? Ported Bitcoin, like the
yeah. Well, I hear you, Jimmy, and because I too am using third party, right?
Yeah.
I'm using Nexo.io. I'm using Crypto.com and others.
Yeah, what is that Nexo? I saw you post about it. I'd never actually heard of it before.
I think it's, again, I think personally, I think it's is going to do very well. It's basically a crypto bank, but they're completely regulated. They were the first STO in the world. So security token offering. So they did everything legit. They've got their financial licenses and regulations, and I've been using them for a couple of years. It's basically the new bank 2.0, where you can deposit your Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, a whole list of stable coins, EOS as well, on and get interest. I think between 5 and 8% interest or more, depending on what you're holding. But literally within seconds, you can give yourself a loan, right? However, it's more centralized than like a true, DeFi project would be.
Right.
Apparently it's all on chain, but even I, who's been in the space since 2012 and understand being your own bank and managing your own keys, I can't tell you how many times I've screwed myself holding my own shit, right? And updating treasures and doing this and, oh shit, what did I just do? Right. And so here I'm an educated crypto nerd that gets this stuff, right? I can't imagine the mainstream people, because this is a niche audience, right? You and I, us that kind of get this, and Jimmy saying, "Oh, MetaMask, it's a bit of a pain in the ass, and you got to learn some stuff." Well, that's coming from inside the crypto verse, right? When you talk about mainstream people, they're going to look at you cross-eyed and just like, no, thank you. They'll go open up a Coinbase or a Nexo account or something that makes it easy for them, so that they don't have to keep their, so they don't have to be their own bank. Because like I said, I've screwed myself, over the years, I've lost so much money just because of my own stupid errors, that what's better, me trusting myself with all this stuff, which is like, it's like, it's like, okay, it's like I'm always holding my breath, or do I trust a third party that I've feel good about and I've vetted to a certain degree, right? I mean, I keep my cash at Chase or Wells Fargo now, and they've been proven to be corrupt beyond belief, right? So that's kind of where I'm at. So I think third party is going to be where it's at, and it's, which ones will be the safest and the most reliant and, transparent. I guess that's going to be the selling point of, who gets the big chunk of the money.
I think like now you look at the streaming platforms, right? Like we always like, oh, Napster, where all the information wants to be free, everything's going to be shared or whatever. Now it's iTunes, and it's all behind a walled garden, right? And like some of it's going to break out and some of it isn't. But I think like for me anyway, this is how I plan on thinking about it. I know there will be people that want to be, staying rebels and, not your keys, not your Bitcoin. And to a large, an important extent, that's true. But yeah, I think you're right. Like as far as like when the users go from like 1 million that there is right now, that's just the number I'm making up, to 100 million, those are the things that are going to, like the end user is basically going to demand that level of convenience and perceived safety, whether any of us likes it or not. Like that's just going to be a thing that people gravitate to, and so people are going to make money doing things like creating banks like that.
Man, here's the thing, man. I'm like a permaculturist. Like I'm like hardcore. Like I want to like build my own house out of Canadian logs on a beach somewhere. Like I'm like, this is me. Like, I know how to put a chicken to sleep and snap its neck. Like this is the kind of shit. I'm not a crazy like my turn.
Like, what else do you do to that chicken, Jimmy?
Go on.
No. But like, I'm not. Some of my friends like to do it with a 2-year-old on their back. I'm not quite at that level yet. But here's the thing, man. Like I'm at the point now where like I'm kind of like 100% on board with this, because this is what annoys me. It's like, a lot of like diehard like crypto decentralized maximalists are like, taxes, man, you can't pay taxes. Like taxes are bad, they're theft. Okay, yeah, taxes are definitely corrupt, but if you're walking on a sidewalk, for Christ's sake, pay your freaking taxes. I think the beauty of Bitcoin, I think the beauty of cryptocurrency is that it's gonna put all of this stuff out in the open so that people can't just, take your money. Like you kind of have options and you have choices, right? So, I use plastic bags sometimes. It's unavoidable, right? Like we're going to have to manage a lot of what's happening in the crypto space with what's already, in the world as an infrastructure perspective. I mean, we're not going to get rid of banks, and we really can't get rid of banks because, I know a lot of people that should not be left in charge of their own money. Like, I'm sure we all do, right? Like, yeah, like we're not at that point yet, right?
Right.
And
even with all that innovation, though, I think it's important to understand that, and I think you hit on it with the government thing. Like the people don't like paying taxes because they hate where it goes, right? They hate the corruption. They hate, like, I think, people generally speaking would love to trust that system more. Like if we were all paying taxes and we felt connected to the collective effort that we make as a country or as a state or as a town. And that's where I see blockchain changing the world, right? And among other things. But when we can see, and it's interestingly enough, exactly the kind of thing that Uplift and Uplift Nation are doing with their charities, when you can see where this stuff goes, how much is going, full transparency, it will allow us, I think, as a community, as a group of hyper intelligent monkeys trying to accomplish things on Earth, it's going to allow us to feel a lot more comfortable and feel more trusting in being part of this collective effort. So that'd be good. And then so KYC the fuck out of that. Fine, like this is me. This is how much I'm making. We're paying taxes. We know exactly how much we're paying taxes. We feel like we have an actual say in governance. Again, like this is a magical world we're inventing, right? Isn't necessarily true now. So I think there's things that the hyper nerds are going to be upset about, but I also think that the innovation is so profound that it will reorganize things for humanity in a way that is going to be a big deal.
Mm-hmm. And if you don't want people to know that you make $200K a year, then just make less.
or make more. See, my goal is to make more and give more, right? So, and going back to what you're talking about earlier, Corey, about, if you knew that your tax money was going to something worthy, right? God, look at this, what my tax money built. Like, wow, I love living here. It's beautiful. Like, right. But in this case, you hear about all this, corruption and, $200 toilet seats and, on and on. But going into the Uplift win-win-win paradigm, I mean, we're talking about building a school in Haiti with NFTs, right? And a passionate, growing community that supports that vision. So, so that way it's kind of like a new world to where we're almost kind of taxing ourselves, but in an empowered way to where you get to actually put those funds into a direction that you feel good about, and you can actually see the fruition of those funds actually taking place. And I remember the live stream we did on Anders with Cheryl Moyes, near the end of that live stream. And anybody that isn't on Anders, any observation, YouTube, go check them out. There's a live stream with all of us and Cheryl Moyes from Haitian Roots. But really towards the end of that is where there was kind of this aha moment from everybody on the call. Like, yeah, this is real, man. And then even Corey, you started to shed some tears about the thought of, wow, I mean, could my music and my talent actually build a school somewhere that actually does some good and meaning, right? So, and that's what's been enabled by Bitcoin and the evolutions from it now into this whole smart contract NFT space. We're seeing the real rails of a win-win-win economy being born in real time right now.
It's kind of funny because I didn't really think about this until now. Like I've been calling this on, trying to get people over here saying the trifecta, right? But it's funny because I just realized, that's a thing with you and me, Michael. We've kind of been on opposite sides of this the whole time. And I think if you remember way back, I said what really excited me about what we were doing with the whole Uplift thing was the fact that we could now empower people in communities that crypto decentralization is always about, especially decentralized finance. is always about like banking the unbanked. There's a big push towards that. And I always said like we could empower people, you know, to get their work out there, to get their art out there, to get what they do out there, right? And then we have like people in America, you know, that aren't able, you know, this is a first world country that aren't able to get their art out there. And then, you know, we bring Corey on, we find this, you know, magical artist who, you know, kind of got lost in the ether because he found his way over to EOS, which was lucky because he ended up in EOS IO and went into like the NFT wax, you know, music video business and empowered a charity in Haiti. I mean, it all kind of came full circle, right? Like, yeah. I think that for me, that's it's not about giving for me. It's about like, you know, I'm not saying giving's bad, but there's those two sides to it, right? It's not only about giving, like, and having the ability to be able to do that, but it's about having the ability to empower people to be able to give to the world something because they're in a certain position where, you know, the world doesn't even recognize them. I mean, we've all got situations in places where we've met people that are just amazing. I mean, the one that always strikes in my mind is like how well people in Haiti were able to use their cell phones, even though it's, you know, an undeveloped nation. You always tell that story, and it always kind of makes me think of stories in my own mind as well. But yeah, I think it's like, this is, you know, this is the, I don't want to say new world order, but it's the new world order potentially in a really good way, like in a Max Weber kind of way, like in an anarchist kind of, you know, not crazy, let's, you know, destroy the world kind of way, but a way to enable everyone, no matter where they are, to participate.
Yeah, it's instead of thinking about it in terms of like, you know, kind of flattening results for everyone, it really is, to coin a phrase from a Jedi that I know, a win-win-win situation. Like it you know, yeah. Like I guess my favorite way to think about this is there are minds right now that are worried about getting rice instead of worrying about curing cancer, yeah, or worried about, you know, figuring out how to get a microloan instead of learning physics, right? And the number of minds that are going to have the capability to be woken up and have the spare moments to think about stuff that is, you know, above the lowest rung of Maslow's hierarchy of needs is going to increase exponentially. And the borderlessness of blockchain, right? The fact that we can just as easily do business, like the Telegram channel for Chirp is kind of where this sort of hits my life the most, right? We have people from Africa, we have people from Venezuela, we have people from Brazil, we have people from the Philippines, and everybody just comes in there and they're like, we all love crypto, let's all hang out and make this big, huge thing together, right? And we don't even know where that goes. And like, how many 10, 15 years ago, how many online stores were there? Like 4, 5? Now there's like tens of millions. Shopify just announced they have well over 1 million stores just in Shopify itself, right? So,
well, yeah, I mean, brick and mortars, especially now with the pandemic situation we're in, everything's moving online, right? I mean, brick and mortar is going away. And even before the pandemic, you know, we've got these mattress stores, you know, in the area. You know, they're like every 3 miles you see the same one, right? And you go, and you never see any cars in front of them, and you go, and you think, how the hell do they pay for that overhead with that mattress store that nobody ever is in, right? It's like it's just this mystery, right? But yeah, I think the landscape is going to be dramatically affected by current circumstances. But hey, you know, we've kind of diverged from that whole EOSIO resource model that they're proposing, and now we're talking about, you know, they're talking about programmable finance, which is another way for to say DeFi, right? But you know, thinking of and then tying this into Haiti, and they're so good with their cell phones. Like again, short story. Every time I go to Haiti, you know, somebody teaches me something new about my own iPhone, right? Like we're driving and the guy says, hey, you know, do you want to listen to some music? You know, and so yeah, and he goes, hand me your phone. Boom, boom, it's playing, right? You know, and this car that's breaking down, but it has Bluetooth, right? And you'll see people living literally on the street in a little like concrete lean-to thing with branches, right? They're living right on the edge of the street with their, you know, 3-year-old toddler, right? But they're on their cell phone. So they may not, you know, in many cases, they may sacrifice eating to pay for their phone plan, right? So it's like most people have phones, but they'll be walking in sewage in their bare feet. So they have access to this stuff. So I'm trying to think of this, EOSIO resource model and how easy onboarding and use can be for anyone, even these people walking in sewer in their bare feet, but they're on their cell phone and they're very proficient at it. Like they know how to use this shit, right? They're good at it. They're teaching me stuff, right? And I think I'm fairly decent at it myself, but they're like, it's like,
Yeah.
Okay. So it's like they have the capacity to use this stuff. It's just making it accessible to them in their language, easy onboarding. And then that's where the real win-win-win happens, is when they can really start using the stuff that they have the capacity and brain power to do.
Right. And how many more people than we ever gave credit for can do that? This is what Spark. We've talked about this on this podcast with Jimmy and I before, and Emily, I think you and I have talked about this too. You get into the crypto space. One thing I don't think is going to go away with KYC, no matter what they do to it, is the kind of startup mentality. 3 years ago, before I knew anything about crypto, I was pining about the fact that I knew about Twitter in advance. I knew about Tesla in advance. I knew Google was going to blow up. Like I've watched all these startups explode. Only I couldn't invest in the Series 1 or Series like Series A or Series B rounds because I didn't have $250,000 liquid in money. Right? Like that's the investor rules is you can't even get in. You can't even talk to those people about investing in startups unless you have $250,000 liquid, which means that you're a qualified investor, or whatever the fuck they call it, right? Now, I mean, again, we talk about it in the context of you're going to get into a lot of coins. Minimum half of them are going to go away and fail. Welcome to startups, right? We're throwing spaghetti at the wall. Some of it's going to stick. Some of it isn't. Some people are going to succeed. Some people aren't. That's part of investing. You need to cast a bit of a wider net or whatever. But what it also means, especially in the context of DeFi or ProFi now, is that you can have somebody who comes into Chirp, does some comments, earns some telos, earns some other things or whatever, right? And, gets a tiny little bit. They can actually put that in and start earning a percentage off that with DeFi right away. And and I haven't really spent a whole lot of time thinking about this, but I should have. Like wealth creation for the third world or even the second world has been basically non-existent, right? Like you couldn't get into this thing where you had capital that was making you other capital, but now in a very micro way, in a decentralized way where no one can really stop you from doing it, that is suddenly available to the whole world. Like that might be the biggest change that we see out of this whole thing.
I fully agree.
Yeah,
Boom, show over.
I know. I'd like to chime in on that because there's there's a couple really cool things going on in the EOS ecosystem right now. There's 3 really cool things going on in the EOSIO, in the EOS ecosystem in particular, right? When it comes to that DeFi, that idea, right? And the idea, okay, so going off of your rant, the idea that just because you have money, you're good with money, that's I just don't get that. I had this conversation with Michael before as well, but it's kind of like, we talked about, how charities operate and in a lot of times it doesn't make sense to work pro bono for a charity if you're a genius, because you can make more money and do more good by just donating money to that cause, right? So that's point number 1. So there are those people who are good at it, but there are also a lot of people that have a lot of money, that were born into a lot of money, that don't know anything about money. And I mean, that's evidence every time you turn on the TV and on an American news channel. But let's digress away from that. The thing is with EOSIO, which has just been blowing me away recently, is I don't know if you guys are aware of this new Eos X DeFi portal that Eos Nation and Eos Asia has kind of collaborated upon. Basically, they offer a one-stop shop to be able to go in and interact with a bunch of different DeFi projects in the EOS space, which is huge because one of the big problems that we have in crypto when it comes to DeFi is you have to go to every single platform every single day to check and make sure. I mean, that how many times have you not gotten your airdrop, or how many times have you forgot to move your coins at a certain date, or forgot to get your coins at a certain date. So when it comes to DeFi, right, and big money DeFi especially, so having just one place that you can go and you can see it is great. But what they offer right now is awesome, because they added a third tier to this, and it's called the SX Vault. And essentially what they do is they use the power of EOS IO technology to be able to have people lock their EOS up and people to be able to take flash loans. So they're taking flash loans in 1 second blocks. They're taking flash loans in 1 second blocks. And the brilliance of this is you can't do this on Ethereum, right? You can't do it without paying exorbitant fees. But the way that EOS X has done it is you take out the loan and you go do with whatever you want with it to get your profit. But if you can't go do with whatever you want with it to get your profit, the loan never comes out. So it's like a zero risk loan to make money. And all you have to do is go and put your EOS in there, and then somebody smarter will take out a loan and you get like basically dividends or paid out for it. Like, it's crazy. The people who are working in this ecosystem with us, the P network guys, the people who have, been porting over things through EOS FinX, trying to solve the liquidity problem on EOS basically, and utilizing the technology to solve the problems that are on Ethereum. Like, it's huge, right? Like the DeFi network, I'm saying that wrong, but they're actually bridging like a community proxy with DeFi. I mean, we are involved in a situation in EOS.io right now where we are optimized for the two greatest things that are happening in not only crypto, in my opinion, but in the world. EOS.io is optimized for DeFi, and it's optimized for like NFTs. And those are the two things, in my opinion, that are completely going to change the world. I mean, NFTs can be art. They can be, as Uplift Art proved, they can be music videos. I mean, it was the first music video ever launched on the blockchain, came from Uplift Art, right? I mean, in the future, they're going to be advertisements, they're going to be promos, they're going to be barcodes, they're going to be tickets. Like, it's just like, yeah, you can get angry at Brendan Blummer for not making you money. You can get angry at Dan Larmer for not, communicating with the community. But this technology that EOS is in is powerful. And my favorite thing from last week was the fact that somebody came on and said, oh, look, there was this article from Coinbase that said all of the Ethereum killers, and EOS wasn't on the list. You guys suck. And my response was like, man, you're a freaking idiot, because EOS is not on the list because it's not an ETH killer. It's going to take Ethereum to the next level. It's going to take Bitcoin to the next level. It's going to utilize all the liquidity in these chains with the technology, across a multitude of blockchains, as Corey said earlier, that are optimized towards different things. Wax with the
Exactly.
Ultra with the gaming, Proton and the UX network with the business incentives and the compliancy when it comes to when it comes to regulations. And I could go on and on, but I should probably let somebody else stop. You can see how excited I am about this. And I mean, this just comes from a little pump in Bitcoin, because Brendan, as he said, they're doing things with Bitcoin.
Yeah. It's the thing. Like, we've been busting Block One. We've been busting their balls for a year and a half.
I haven't.
Okay. I have.
No.
This is the thing. I said I was going to eat crow. This is me eating crow. So Bitcoin hits like firm all-time highs, and they come out and say, hey, remember when we said we had 140,000 Bitcoin? We actually have a fair amount more. And we're, going to be using that to basically create a second layer scaling for Bitcoin, right? Which is massive. And, I was talking about this with a bunch of people. We were talking about capital flows that are very likely going to come out of Ethereum into Wax because of the NFT space. Ethereum is going to grind to a halt, within 6 to 8 months or whatever. And it's
or next week.
Or next week, exactly, right? Totally possible, right? And that's going to flow out to other spaces, which is going to be probably Wax. Frankly, that's where we are, and it's working really, really well, and it's basically free. It works really well. But institutions, MicroStrategy et al., large institutions buying hundreds of millions or billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin, are getting into this kind of exposure, and it's going to create a flood of capital inflow. And honestly, like, the stuff that's going to come out of Ethereum into Wax, like, that capital flow is going to be big, especially for Wax. It's still pretty small around there. but the capital inflow from the rest of the world into crypto is going to come straight through Bitcoin. And that was probably their whole plan the entire time, because they're seeing this happen. And so they're positioning themselves to take advantage of the largest amount of flow of capital that's going to come into the space over the next 24 months. And we're just going to be sitting back going like, okay, well, EOS is going to moon. Cool.
Well, it's interesting about this bull market, which is different than the 2016, 2017 rise, is that it was Bitcoin that made the first big charge, and all of the alts just sank, right? It was just like, like you're sweating because, you've taken most of your Bitcoin and bought alts, right?
Yep.
I'm speaking for myself. And so you see Bitcoin charging away and you're going, yay, Bitcoin, but you're like sweating because you hope, because you always get the people saying, oh, alts are all going to die. They're useless. Bitcoin is the only way. So even though that's bullshit, you still, when you see Bitcoin, going up 100% while the alts are just like tanking big time, you're kind of sweating, going, please don't make me wrong, right? And then after a certain point, Bitcoin hits his point, there's profit taking, and then the alts moon. This cycle, we're seeing the alts moving with Bitcoin, which is interesting. Like, you've got, Ethereum up big, you got XRP up big, Nexo up big, others up big. But so that's interesting that it's not all just flowing straight into Bitcoin this time. It's being kind of spread out. And also it's interesting when you talk about MicroStrategy, right? There is probably 1,000 large institutions looking at them going, holy shit, how did they know that before us, right? And so now we've reached the point to where you don't want to be the last institution in, right? Because we're in a very competitive financial landscape, and they're all looking at each other, right? Now you're going to get, university endowment funds have been looking at this space since 2017, if not before. And so now they're also going, holy crap, look at these financial institutions, look at the MicroStrategies, they're up 200%. Like, and what in the traditional markets can you see 200% gain, right?
Yeah.
In a year, right?
It's like tech, but not all of them, right? Like you can see it, but it's very, very rare. In crypto, like if you're not going to 10x, I'm not looking at you right now. Like that's mental. Like it doesn't make any sense. And honestly, I still think Wax has a really good shot of just 100xing from here. And I know that sounds bananas, but it's true.
Yeah, I'm with you. That's that's why I'm in it. I mean, it's it's got so much going for it. And going back to you, Jimmy, EOS and EOS.io isn't the Ethereum destroyer. It's an Ethereum life raft, right? Yeah. And it's going to enhance not only Ethereum but also Bitcoin. But the EOS.io network as a whole is still very early stages. But look at the immense innovation and just the plethora of innovative, great minds. I mean, you've got, Yves LaRose. I mean, he's just like so freaking smart. You can give him a string of numbers, like as long as you can count, and he'll be able to tell you back. He'll be able to digest that back to you. I mean, he comes from a mathematics background. He's just one smart cookie.
Or he might be a warlock. I'm not sure. I'm convinced he might be a warlock now. I'm not quite sure. I say that with love because there was a great there was a great Everything EOS live cast a couple of days ago. They did an EOS happy hour, and it was Zach Gall and Cheney and those guys came on, and of course Eve jumped on, but he didn't really say anything. He just stared at the screen with his long, awesome Canadian beard, and then disappeared after 5 seconds. It was pretty hilarious, actually.
Yeah.
He's got the greatest beard of all time, to be honest. But yeah, I know what you mean. Like,
well, yeah. I mean, you've got Fred Krueger over at Proton. I spoke to him recently. I mean, what a freaking genius that guy is, and I know he gets a lot of hate for kind of being the negative Nancy on Twitter sometimes, but that dude is freaking smart as hell. I mean, he sees it. I could go on and on. You've got so many smart, intellectual, bright minds, from Dan Larimer to, the list is long. But what I'm saying here is you've got all these different EOS.io chains, right? From Proton to Wax to Telos to Boss to you name it, right? And they all speak the same language, right? And we're in the early stages, but at some point we're going to have full, and we do it to a certain degree already, but it's going to be this massive decentralized network that's going to be able to talk to each other, interchange, and easily transport from one chain to the next. And to some degree, we can do that already, but it's just going to get much slicker and easier. And that is the decentralized utopia, because now you have all of these different specialized chains, that do kind of their own little niche. Like Wax is this really, niche NFT space, and also / up and coming DeFi space. But everything has its own little niche, and they're going to be interconnected. That's where the magic really comes in. And that's really going to enable the Ethereums and the Bitcoins. I mean, I can't wait to see. I only have some inkling hunches of what Block One has in mind with all these Bitcoin they have and the technology they have, and being able to actually make Bitcoin usable, right? I mean, I hate touching Bitcoin. I mean, I love owning it, but I hate having to transact with it, right?
Yeah.
As well as Ethereum too is the same kind of nightmare. But if we can enable Ethereum and Bitcoin with the EOS.io technology, which is doable and in process right now, it's just going to enhance the whole ecosystem.
Well, and here's my thing with that as well. It's like at some point in time, the maximalists have got to understand that, like, our identity isn't necessarily tied to people, not going other places. Like, and that is kind of the problem. And EOS is a 3rd generation blockchain. Wax is a 4th generation blockchain. I mean, it took Ethereum 10 years. Has it been 10 years? I don't even know the timeline on that.
No, I think it's more like 6, more like 5 or 6.
5 years, yeah. So it took Bitcoin 10 years to, achieve its status now. And then, Ethereum, let's say 5 years to achieve that. I mean, there was a great article that was written, I can't remember by who, but not so long ago, essentially comparing like where Ethereum was to where EOS is now at the same time period. And I mean, it's not really a fair comparison to say like, oh, EOS sucks because Ethereum's mooning and EOS isn't. Like, I mean, of course, because EOS is the 3rd generation blockchain. And, developers are going to flock to where they want to be, and there's going to be some kind of cross utilization between a variety of chains, like you said. And I think the network effect of EOS.io is going to be huge. I'm not necessarily, sure about how that's going to, take over. But the thing that I like about EOS.io the most is the optimization of it all. There's not, I mean, the thing with Ethereum is it's great. Does a lot of really good things well. I mean, it's the grandfather of smart contracts, but the grandfathers are great.
It's Windows 98.
The grandfathers are great. You want to sit on the rocking chair and have your grandfather tell you a story. It's amazing. But when you're choosing the baseball teams for the family reunion, you're not putting grandpa up on third base. Like he's not playing shortstop, like he's out in left field, You're happy, he's happy, he's got his beer.
But he really wants to play.
He really wants to play, but he needs the faster, more agile people on his team on the infield. Like he's the coach. He knows what's going on. He'll coach you. But I took a weird baseball analogy there. But anyway, I don't even like baseball, to be honest.
I do want to give everybody a shout out who's posting their Wax addresses in the comments. I'm sure you've already shared this out to Twitter and Facebook already, but if you haven't, please do that. Feel free to retweet it if you're following us along on at ChirpDApp on Twitter. But literally everybody who's posted their Wax address in the comments now owns an Uplift.art NFT. So you're fucking welcome. And thank you for being part of the community. Thanks for sharing. And obviously, if you're getting your first Uplift.art NFT, make sure you actually go to the Uplift.art website and check out how the burning works. You're going to want to get a whole lot more so you can collect some of the collector's editions, because the people that own the collector's editions just recently got dropped an NFT that acts like a key to download one of the coolest songs that has ever been written by anyone. And it was co-created by me and Blue. It's way more fun. Like, I've never been able to brag about my own stuff. I brag about I'm Not the Bubble all the fucking time. I don't know what it is. I just really like it. That's just the way it is.
It's
I
just,
think you're standing in your kitchen blowing bubbles and popping them with a pin.
Yeah, I mean, that's not crazy. That might happen.
Yeah, no, I'm really happy with how that turned out. I'm really proud of that production as well, and I'm looking forward to. For those of you that don't know, that Corey and I have collaborated on a few other tunes. One of them is a Tom Petty song called Wildflowers, which has really significant special meaning for myself, and that story will come out and unfold. But that's going to be a really cool community giveaway NFT piece that will be happening in the new year. So be sure that you are either in the Uplift Art Telegram channel or uplift.art and sign up for notifications so you can be kind of privy to how that's going to unfold. And also, I am producing currently a song that Corey wrote called Solace that also has a really interesting, deep meaning for myself and my wife. But also it's his story. So there's two like really cool stories that come around that beautiful. I mean, it's one of the most beautiful, touching songs I've ever worked on. So I'm really excited about that. And we're talking to some collaborators as well to be talked about at a later time. But a lot of exciting things happening with Uplift.art. We have in mid-January, right at Valentine's Day, a really special, significant, first of a kind type of event coming out too, which will be communicated in the Telegram channel and Uplift.art notifications. And then a fantastic event in the first part of March. So a lot of mystery around here because we don't want to disclose too much because we want to kind of give that out as it unfolds. But
can we slow that up a little bit? So the next event that's happening, can we talk about that a little bit? Because we haven't talked about that so much tonight. So
yeah, so the Christmas event, which is happening on December 23rd. Okay, so before the November 15th drop, right? Before the Series 1 drop, we had these community crate promos. And we had the community crate and the supporter crate. So there was a single crate and then one with a double crate. And those were given out to the community as kind of like building the community, incentivize the community, letting the community know kind of what's coming. So everybody's asking, well, is there going to be, what's going to come about with these crates and the assets within the crates? So, and back then I said, hey, we're going to have a Christmas burn upgrade event. So what's happening with that is that on December 23rd, you're going to be able to take those assets from those crates, and we're still giving them out. Again, go to Uplift Art Telegram, and we're giving those out to uplifters that, bring the light, spread value, bring your superpower. And one way or another, you're going to find a crate in your account. But so basically, we're going to be able to take all those commons from those community and supporter crates, and duplicates or not, you could take 5 of those, and you're going to be able to burn and upgrade those for a snippet of Mr. Spaceman music video, NFT, MP3 key that will also be able to unlock the MP3 download on uplift.art/claim. Instructions will be in Telegram. So that's another delivery mechanism that is enabled by this NFT space. Yes, Jimmy.
Yeah, I like the Bitcoin videos, but as you know, Mr. Spaceman is probably one of my favorites. Actually, like that's a slick tune that you totally want to be in on. I have a 1-year-old daughter. She loves it. She loves bopping to that song. Like she absolutely loves it. It's a slick tune and it's really cool. And this will be a completely new rendition of it that you're putting out as well, right?
Oh yeah. It's going to be, all original, all new. But yeah, so that's happening on the 23rd. So if you have those crates, open them up, collect all of your commons, and on the 23rd through the 30th, you'll be able to go to the uplift.art site and upgrade those for Mr. Spaceman NFT MP3 key. So it'll be a tradable asset all on its own, but it'll forever be a key to go to the website and unlock and download that Mr. Spaceman MP3 file in its entirety, because the actual NFT is only a minute clip of that song. So it's not the entire clip, but you can get the entire clip by downloading that MP3, and that enables you to rock out to that on any audio device of your choice, right? We kind of live in this world of where music is basically free, right? If you want something, you can figure out a way to get that. But the NFT space enables an avenue for all creators to benefit, right? That's where the win-win-win comes in. Well, the actual music might be free, but there's also a mechanism that still rewards the actual creator of that piece. So it's a really fantastic model that's, it's kind of what we don't know yet because it just hasn't been created. But, what we're seeing in these early days of innovation and the ability to lock, assets with these NFTs, I think we'll look back in 5 years from now and just be, mind blown at what's now existing in the space.
Yeah, man. Like there's we've kind of been a little bit, everyone in crypto has been on this journey of innovation and surprise together, but there's a very real possibility that this idea of NFTs as music videos could completely transform the way that the industry itself operates, in my personal opinion. Just think about it. You're able to create something that's stamped on the blockchain that is authentically yours. You're able to prove that, something has been created at a certain point in time that is yours. You're able to reward artists for what they do as opposed to who they know. I mean, there's so many dynamics at play here. And as you've always mentioned, you're able to actually connect artists with artists. And what's better than connecting artists with artists? I mean, how often, other than, a party, somewhere where you might introduce yourself to someone who's actually an artist, someone who's a musician, someone who's a sculptor. I mean, we're in this decentralized world where we can, mix and match and meld different mediums of art into something that's amazing and beautiful and original that has never really been possible before from all over the world.
Yeah, it's really exciting.
So I just gave somebody, I have a few of these, otherwise there's no way in hell I would have done it. I just gave somebody one of my collector's editions. So this is what happens. If you're watching, I'm gonna make it worth your guys' while to throw that in. Do you guys mind if I show you the thing that just happened?
Sure.
I want to see it. I really want to see it, actually.
Yeah. And something really cool about these collector's editions, whether you have a common or common, uncommon, rare, epic, or legendary collector's edition, these are the Genesis collector's editions for Uplift Art. So these will always be receiving what we're calling drops of goodness. So we're gonna, we reward the community with these occasional random drops of goodness. We drop, limited edition NFTs to the holders of the common through legendary collector's editions.
Yeah.
And sorry, go ahead, Corey.
No, I'm gonna play this. So that's gonna happen now. There it is. Yeah. This is a short version, but it's still the good version.
A Bitcoin bull is all I got left.
Yeah.
Sold my house, go no less. Was a suckling, all hands. This man stronger than the average man. I'm not the bubble, I'm the pen. I'm not the bubble, I'm the pen. I'm not the bubble, I'm the pen. I'm not the bubble, I'm not the bubble. Day the markets take another day to restart and refuel this moon boy ship. My dreams may be futile, this you say, while my dreams may be futile, Bitcoin bull keeps charging away. Oh, you see, a Bitcoin bull keeps charging away. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm not the bubble. I'm not the bubble. I'm the pen. I'm not the bubble. I'm the pen. I'm not the bubble. I'm the pen. I'm not the bubble. I'm not the bubble. I'm not the bubble. I'm the pen. I'm not the bubble. I'm the pen. I'm not the bubble. I'm the pen. I'm not the bubble, I'm the pen.
That's an NFT, man.
I think it's time for me to take this podcast over. I'm totally taking this over for the next 5 minutes.
Okay.
You guys are gonna have to play my game. No. But so here's
Feel free to threaten me with a good time.
Like this is series 1, right? So this is the redefining of my Bitcoin bull, which was a video, the first music video on the blockchain, which Blue you produced and made and did everything for. And I don't think I know this, and maybe it's been put out there, but I don't usually miss stuff like this. So if I don't know it, maybe nobody knows it, and I kind of want to know the answer to this question. So we created this Uplift Art created this Blue kind of promo Genesis my Bitcoin bull video where you did all the art, you did the music, and you put it out there into the community. And nowhere in that video was the terminology, I'm not the bubble, I'm the pin in there. Where did this come from? I kind of want to know the background story, because a lot of the wording, a lot of the music is, relatable, but it's a little bit different. And I'd kind of like to be the person to ask that question and have that story broken on EOSIO Weekly, if that's possible.
Hey, Corey, do you mind if I step in there? Okay, so I was on ChirpCast live, and Corey and I really started to bond, because I found out he was a musician and songwriter and singer. And so, my goal for Uplift Art from the very beginning was, because I just like to do things, right? I like to, I don't consider myself, I'm not a schooled artist, right? I'm not a schooled musician. I'm not a schooled producer. Everything I've learned in books or YouTube, right? So I'm self-taught everything. I didn't go to like the Musicians Institute or the Artists Institute, right? But I just
at Juilliard.
No. But I do wear leotard. You just don't.
I always wondered.
They're comfortable, they're stretchy.
Dude, I'm wearing yoga pants right now, and I don't give a fuck. That's live.
No, that G-string thing is just annoying, but no. Anyways, so I would call myself a producer because I just love to produce stuff. So when I thought of, I love to make music. So I was thinking, exploring the Ethereum NFT space, there are some NFTs out there that contained short bits of music, right? Like these 10-second art pieces with some piano on it or something, right? And I was thinking, well, why not a full-length music video on the blockchain? And so that's when I said, and I started looking, is there such a thing out there? And I couldn't find it, right? So I said, well, I want to be the first. So I created, my Bitcoin Bull version 1. And we did an auction with that. It was successful, and trying out new technology and a new auction format. And boom, we did it. Got that out there. And then I was on ChirpCast with Corey, and we're talking about, the recent auction and my Bitcoin Bull. And, he was digging it, and found out he was a musician. And then I also did a remix to that song called, you can find it on wax.atomichub.io. It's called titled MBB Remix, my Bitcoin Bull remix. And it's a really cool version, right? And, Corey, I think out of the two versions, I think he dug the remix version a little bit more. And so I said, and my whole thing was, I wanted to show a proof of concept and work, right? So I said, okay, I'm going to do the art, I'm going to do the music. That way I don't have to wait. The hardest part about creating things in collaboration is waiting for the other people to get their shit done, right? So I'm the type of guy, if I can do it all myself, then I know that I can do it fast, right? And get it out there. And so that's why it's so fun to just work by yourself sometimes, because you got the vision, you have the capabilities, you have the tools. It's not going to be as good as a Leonardo, but at least it's a proof point, right? So it's a proof of concept. Everything I've been doing has been a proof of concept. Does this shit work, right? Can we actually make this work? I'm going to get it out there. I'm going to do the best I can, and it is what it is, right? People either love it or hate it. So I get it out there, and I talk to Corey, find out that first of all, he's got this beautiful speaking voice, right? So just hearing him speak, I was thinking, okay, this guy must be able to sing too, right? Because you can't have such a rich speaking voice and not be able to, sing with it. That'd be a disservice to the human body. But so anyways, I said, hey, so my whole thing is prove that this works, prove that there is this win-win-win paradigm available to us. And I've proved that, right? With my humble offerings. But I've always wanted to work with artists better than myself. It's like basically go to them, say, hey, look what we can do. I've proved it. Hey, let's collaborate. Let me help you get your shit on chain, and we can do a win-win-win. If charity wins, you win, Uplift wins, everybody wins. Hallelujah, right? So it's always been my dream is to work with more talented artists than I, and ultimately to artists with big, massive followings, and then we can do major events that just win-win-win, right? So I said, hey, Corey, do you want to, see what you can do with my Bitcoin Bull remix and mess around with it? So a few days later, he sends me a couple files, him on guitar and a vocal, right? 2 separate tracks. And immediately, I'm like, holy smokes, this dude's got the goods, man. He's got such a unique, beautiful, rich, soulful voice. And then I just produced the shit out of it, right? And that's the 2 songs that we've heard today. It was the one we just listened to is the original production, where I took his vocals and his guitar and just produced around it, right, to support him. And then the one we listened to in the very beginning of the show is the evolution of that production, which is the I'm Not the Bubble V2 Extended. Now, what he did, to answer your question, is that he threw a twist into it, right? So he didn't do a 1-for-1 remake of the song. He added the chorus, I'm Not the Bubble. So it was like a cool surprise. So he sent me these files and I listened to it and I go, that's different, right? Like, that's like, I didn't write that, right? So it's like, that's cool. I'm not the bubble. I'm the pin. And the way he sings it, it was just so like perfect, right? So it was just a joy to receive, to work with him, but then also to produce around it, right? Because up till now, I've been producing around myself, right? And what I do and what I write. And it's such a pleasure to actually produce somebody with his chops and his soulfulness, right? So that's where it was born. So I'm Not the Bubble, I'm the Pin came from him reimagining my Bitcoin Bull remix, MBB remix.
I like it, man.
What's your version, Corey?
Yeah, I was just going to ask where did the inspiration for that come from? Where did you decide that you were?
So I've always thought about, you know, really always for the last few years since I started paying really close attention. When I was 5, I was like, Bitcoin is the pin, not the bubble. So I do it because there's some people in the Telegram chat. There's people all over the place. The NFT army, get at me. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for sharing this out and retweeting. Literally, like everyone until 7 minutes ago got a free Uplift Art NFT. I'm moving it over to Chirp. So everybody head over to chirp.la, sign up. You can go to the Chirp Telegram to get some free coins. There's people there that will help you get some free coins to start posting. If you post your wax address anywhere on Chirp and tag @Corey, which is my name on Chirp, I got another 20 NFT set aside, so we'll hook you guys up. So that out of the way. The first music NFT ever on the blockchain. I was like, I was interviewing Blue about that for ChirpCast, right? And I've been really, really, really grateful for a lot of things this cycle. But the fact that I got invited to be part of the Chirp team, the fact that I started a podcast because I like talking to people and getting introduced. That's how I met Blue, and took this entire other course where for the first time, I just got to play music for no reason. Never mind how successful to me Series 1 has been, and I know kind of where we're taking it, and so I'm super excited about that. But we're all here in this pandemic. You know how many gigs I get to do in a pandemic? None. My chops are going to waste. Hearing that and seeing that this is now possible, I got super excited about that. So we did a podcast about it. He's like, hey, sends these files over. What do you think? I'm like, well, I want to jam on them. So I literally just did like a doodle. I'm just like, do, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I sent that over. He got all excited about it. But then I found out what he can do because he sends this stuff back, and I start jumping up and down in my kitchen. It's it's one thing for me to record it in my little home studio with one mic or whatever. It's quite another when Blue gets a hold of it and just polishes the living bejesus out of it and turns a rock into a diamond. It's legit. So I got super excited about it, and we worked on it, and
I kind of feel like we need a comic book NFT series for the backdrop of this. I can totally envision some comic art of you being sending something over to Blue, and then the Blue getting all excited about it. And you're like, what are you getting all excited about for, man? It's just a doodle. Why are you getting excited about this? And then the Blue side of the picture, he's like, man, this is awesome. Mixing it all up, doing the thing, sending it back to you. You're just like, Jesus Christ, what the hell just happened? It'd be a really cool, NFT, uplift art beginning series.
maybe it could be an animated an animated NFT, so that way we can see Corey actually jumping up and down and dancing in his kitchen.
Which I'm not even kidding, happened and continues to happen. Every time you send me, one of the things that you send me that just, I know and it works. So I'm like,
well, I know that because we've had a lot of back and forth with the Solace, right? Because we want to get it right? So up until now, it's just been this smooth sailing, right? Like bam, bam, right? So now I know that the Solace, and I really think it's going to be a minimalist approach because it's such a beautiful song, and the way you layer, Corey is just a master at harmonies and just layering his vocals. So how I know Solace is going to be extremely awesome is that it's not as easy to get it right as it was for I'm Not the Bubble, right?
Yeah.
So there's so much intention and care going into this and thoughtfulness that I just know that in the end, it's just going to be a masterpiece. It could be an opus.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's that's where it's headed for sure. I mean, and everyone that the first thing that you said back, everyone that I shared that with a few members of my family and stuff. Same with the wildflowers thing, right? So we did a bunch of layered vocals in that, and the feedback was the same. Like I've heard you sing like this. I know you can do it live. I've heard attempts at this. Trying to get it right. In a recorded fashion, and it's never worked until now. And I completely agree. Like it's one thing. Cause like you sending the files that I send over to you or whatever. I was listening back to the Solace, like just the kind of bed tracks that I sent over. They're okay, right? Like they're good. I did them. I know they're right, but it doesn't sound like it sounds like 20% tops as good as what you sent me back. Right? Like the I don't know what the hell you're doing to it, but it makes it better. So we should probably keep doing it because. And that's the thing, like we do this Bitcoin Anthem thing, which is really fun. We did Wildflowers, kind of. He asked me if I could learn it. I'm like, sure, okay. And I didn't even know how special it was, but it really is. Like if you ever hear the backstory of it, like it's that community drop is coming from a deep well of intention and gratitude for a life. It's a big deal. And then Solace, but like. We could do this all day, and by all day I mean like we could drop a tune every month and never get bored. I think, like forever.
Oh yeah, there's no boredom in music creation.
Nope.
A little frustration sometimes, but
it's Well, I've turned into a bit of a taskmaster for which I mean, honestly I was going to apologize. I'm not sorry because seriously, like if you hadn't showed me how good you were, I might accept like okay. But I can't now because I know you're a badass.
No, I love that back and forth because I know when it's right, and it's kind of like feedback from my Francesca, my wife. She's got great ears too, and so she just knows when something's right. And I can't tell you how many times over the years where I'm totally like stoked about something, like oh this is awesome. Then I play it for her, and she's like. Yeah, and then she gives me good feedback, and then I go, and I with sometimes a bad attitude, like hurt feeling puppy, right? Like she doesn't know what she's talking about. She's not but then I sit on it for a day or two, and then I end up going back and it's kind of taking her ideas and working with them, and then at the end I'm like. Hey, have a listen. Hey, isn't this good? It's like, oh, okay. Yeah. So you took my idea and you, it always works out. I just got to take my ego out of the way, which I've learned how to do more and more. So, but
I can relate to that because I have zero musical talent whatsoever at all, but I really like telling people what to do. And when they listen to me, it's great.
Fair enough.
It's true though. True story. No, I love Jimmy, man. He's been a huge supporter of Uplift since day one, and he's so talented on many levels, from writing to editing to permaculture to just ideas. Right? He's just just pretend you're not here, Jimmy. I'm just kind of...
No, it's okay. It's funny because I had more fun putting out this post about this cast than any other post, because it was kind of like Corey and I were talking about it, and it's kind of like we decided like, okay, we're not going to have a guest this week. We're going to have like another co-host, which was kind of going to be the trifecta of the co-hosts. And I never did video before I met you, and then I met Corey, and we talked a lot about various things, but it's like, to me, this is the trifecta. Like, so I get it. I both of you guys are really, important people to me, because I don't get on a screen for just anyone, man. Like, this is really complicated in my life. I had to hang pictures in the background and shit because I don't know how to like put up a, screen and stuff. Like, no, but I think, it's really good where we met and where we came from. And I resonate a lot with what you're trying to do with bringing charity to the world in a reasonable way, right? Like it's more than just giving money. It's more than just being involved, because that's kind of the problem. That's the issue, right? And there's this idea that like you have to get something from life, or you have to give everything to somebody else in life, which often is the case in a lot of times, right? Like if you look at the world and the people who work, they give everything for, you know, their life, or they get everything for their life. We've kind of managed to bridge that gap. I'm not really sure if that makes sense, but a person who works a 60-hour job every week, they're giving everything just for money. They're giving everything in their, you know, their life and their empowerment away. And a person who is working for a charity to like help other people, they're giving everything away. And the people who are working for a corporation, they're probably not that happy, but the people who are working for a, you know, charity, they're probably really happy. And I think if you look at the opposite kind of side of that, there's a lot of people in the world that are making a lot of money that aren't really happy.
Most people, scientifically,
right?
Yeah.
And so this dynamic that we've kind of figured out, you know, with crypto, with NFTs, with art, with charity, I say we, I'm not even really sure if it was we, because, you know, that came from you. So that was, as a permaculturalist, like, you know, a person who looks at ecosystems and tries to design them for the local community, but still wants to be in touch with, like, you know, the business end of things and the world at large. Meeting you was like kind of a game changer, because it changed my perspective on a lot of things as well. And as well, meeting Corey was kind of a game changer, because, you know, he's a kind of a socialite in the way that he interacts in his regular life. And I'm not, you know, I'm a writer that kind of hides behind many aliases. Let's just put it that way. So like the two of you kind of brought me out in the public eye, and here's where we are. And so I think having you, you know, on this cast as a guest host as opposed to a guest is I don't really know how to explain this, but there's some meaning of admiration there to both of you, to be honest.
Well, I feel it, Jimmy, and you know it's reciprocal for sure. And yeah, and being on this this podcast with you guys, live cast, whatever we call it, just feels natural, feels good. You know, we're all kind of on the same page. You know, just doing it. You know, building this win-win paradigm, one block at a time, one drop at a time.
Yep.
Actually, you want to know the worst thing about crypto for me? The worst thing about crypto for me, I'll tell you this honestly. The worst thing about crypto is, like, we're in this day and age where we can kind of connect online on podcasts like this, and we can like feel like it's real time. But we always say in the background, you know, when BTC moons, you know, when Eos moons, we're going to have like a party on a boat somewhere, and like we're going to go and we're all going to meet. Like, it's going to be great. I mean, for me, I don't even care about the boat or the island. I just want to fucking hug, man. Like,
yeah. And Blue and I have already talked about this. Like, if Wax even remotely hits our estimated target, I mean, it's always been my dream to live on a sailboat. We're looking at a catamaran. You know, the idea that you know we might be able to do that. You know, it's obviously like working multiple projects in the space, whatever. Like, that's sort of my end goal. Tell my wife, hey, you can keep working your super smarty pants job if you want to, but you also don't have to if you don't want to. That's what gets me up in the morning when I don't feel like it, right? And obviously, I get to come to this exciting space where it's super fucking fun anyway. So that's really good. But the idea that we get, you know, a few families together and sail down to Haiti to help them build the school that we built, because Solace was such a fucking massive drop that 50% of that it was enough to build a school. Like, after that, like, what? I'm done. Like, that's good.
Well, we're gonna have Upfests,
right? Yes. In
Upfest with big tents where it's just hugs all day.
Hugs all day, Jimmy. Hugs all day. By the way, I do have to let you know, Bitcoin has flash crashed by $1,000. Bitcoin has flash crashed by $1,000.
Oh,
It's
no.
checks notes 23,000. It hit 29. It almost hit 24,000.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really weird.
Yeah, it's going to be, now that we're in this race to not be the last institution in, it'll be interesting because now you don't have just a few holders, dumping and suppressing prices. Now you've got, who knows how many entities are now holding, right? So it's going to be, you're going to have to think twice about being a Bitcoin whale and trying to manipulate the price down because you may not be able to re-enter at the price that you're hoping. So it'll be, I know that volatility is still going to be massive for the next several years. But it'll be interesting to see how this pans out because who wants to be the guy that bought at 100,000, right? What hedge fund wants to announce, we're getting into Bitcoin now. It's 100,000, right?
Right. So this
It's
is what's
funny
fun.
because sorry, go ahead.
That's coming, right? Because so if you look at the historical analysis of Bitcoin, we're at 2016. Bitcoin goes past 1,100 for the second time and hits 1,200. That's where we're at right now. We're at Bitcoin 1,200, right? In the last 4-year cycle. That's nothing, right? If you bought at 1,200 and it topped out at 20K, you're pretty freaking excited. So there will be in 4 years, 3 years probably, there's going to be somebody buying at 100 grand going like, yes, steal, right? That's going to happen. That's absolutely going to happen. It's going to, I don't know if it's going to top out at 200K.
Yeah, I bought the dip at 100K.
Right. That I'm telling you, that will happen.
It's hilarious because I don't agree with you about this. And here's why I don't agree with you. Maybe I agree with you in 4 years, but in 8 years, I don't agree with you. Because in 8 years, it might not be Bitcoin. It might be Bitcoin. I don't know.
I agree with where you're headed with this. I totally
people are just going to be using it every day, and it's not going to be an investment anymore. It's going to be how the world works. It's going to be how the world operates. It's going to be how businesses are legitimized. It's going to be how people pay for their things. I mean, it's crazy here. In America was really ahead of the game. They use debit cards for everything. In China now they're using facial recognition to it's really kind of creepy to be honest, but let's not go there. They're using facial recognition to pay for things at certain stores, right? This
the ultimate KYC.
This is the beginning of an end in a positive and a negative way. Let's just say that.
Well, I also see it kind of unfolding in a different way too, Jimmy, because especially once this EOS programmable finance, what they're proposing, right? DeFi 3.0 is unveiled, and they start to lock away some of their Bitcoin into these DeFi platforms. In 10 years, I suspect that most of the Bitcoin will be locked up in DeFi.
I completely agree. I 100% agree. Because it's Bitcoin proved that there was something that needed to be solved, and there was a different way that you could organize, human beings together in a trustless way with math, with the blockchain, right? It proved that it could do this thing we didn't even know was possible. Wow, that's crazy. Now we find out Bitcoin does 12 transactions a second. That's garbage. Let's not get it twisted. That's terrible, right? But if you have 20, 30, 40, 50 massive companies that are locking away 1%, 2%, 5% of all Bitcoin into DeFi structures that are lightning fast and super capable and almost as decentralized, right? If not more decentralized, if you count the fact that 3 giant corporations in China own all of the Bitcoin mines, right? Anyway, sorry, I completely agree, Amblue. That's exactly where all this.
Now the question though is, let's say, for example, most of the Bitcoin is locked up in DeFi, earning passive income for institutions and individuals, right? Mm-hmm. So it's locked up. Most of it's locked up long term. What happens to the proof of work miners? Because there's not going to be so much to to be processing at that point, because if it's locked up on EOS or some other chain, right?
Yeah,
and
there still will be though, right? Yeah,
Well, I think that's where the whole concept, like, I don't honestly, like, Satoshi didn't envision proof of stake. Like, he couldn't have. I mean, if he would have envisioned proof of stake, he wouldn't have built it to be a mining coin, right? So, but at the same time, I mean, Bitcoin is gold, right? I mean, you're not going to shave it off to buy something at a convenience store, but, you know, it's not going anywhere. And isn't it like 2040 or something like that, where all the Bitcoin will be into circulation?
I guess closer to 21, 23 or something like that.
See, I know nothing. I'm like fucking worse than Plato.
Don't quote me on that.
I think it's February 3rd of 2123.
I have no idea. Like, 100% serious.
It gets I was totally close. It's 2140. So yeah, it's going to be a long time. I think like the secondary markets. I mean, the money market period is so huge, and the Bitcoin market period is so huge that even though Bitcoin is not going to continue its market share of 50% ad nauseum, in 10 years, it's going to be much, much less than that. You know, I think it's still going to be around. It's still, even as a historical thing, you know, I think there's going to be enough demand to keep it going. Again, every 4 years, there's, you know, half of inflation gets cut in half. So I think there would be enough.
Though, I'm not sure if I agree with you, because maybe I'm back with Michael on this. Like, it might not even take that long, because what happens when all of this Bitcoin is ported over to EOS, when all of this Bitcoin is ported over to Ethereum from, like, you know, projects like P Network and stuff like that, if it's not operating on the Bitcoin main chain, then it might happen way sooner than we're even envisioning now in this conversation, right? I mean, I don't know the answer to that question. If anyone knows the answer to that question, that's a really
either way, like being bullish on Bitcoin and now bullish on the EOS mainnet token, not crazy.
No, not crazy at all. Like, if you, don't FUD me in Twitter. If you're gonna FUD me in Twitter about EOS, then I'm just gonna sometimes fight you and sometimes delete you. I know.
Well, here's the thing, and here's why I've never fudded Block One, and they're not perfect. Trust me, you know, they're human, right? They've done things and they haven't done things that I've sat back and pondered, like, that's interesting. Like, you know, and they've admitted to some foibles, right? But why I never like doubted that they would deliver over time. And, you know, it's, you know, nothing's ever as, you know, we live in this instant gratification society, you know, where Amazon will deliver something you clicked 15 minutes later, right? So we expect, you know, Block One to deliver something every 15 minutes, right? So here's the thing, you know, I've interviewed Dan Larimer's father, Stan, on 4 different occasions. And first of all, just genius. Dan Larimer's dad, Stan, is a genius. He's just he's a good human, right? A good human. And I know that the two of them have a strong relationship and a deep bond. So just by, you know, by association and knowing and trusting Stan Larimer, Dan's dad, I know he comes from good stock, right? And on top of that, so I'm not one of those people that would ever call Dan Larimer a scammer, right? So that's off the table for me, right? I legitimately, and I've listened to everything Dan Larimer has ever, you know, done, and I've probably read most of his articles, and I've read some of his books from his book list, right? So I know that Dan Larimer is coming from a good place of wanting to do good in the world, and on top of it, he's a genius, right? And so knowing this, and knowing that he's also has a history of knowing how to build blockchains from BitShares to Steemit, right? And there's a lot of FUD around that too. And I've gone down that rabbit hole, and I understand it as well, to where it just made sense to me. But knowing now that they are sitting on a war chest bigger than any company in the ecosystem, right? They're sitting on probably now, like, who knows, maybe $6 billion worth of assets. And then once EOS actually moons, they could double that.
So 2 weeks ago, they were the third or fourth largest Bitcoin holder of like everything block one. So and then they released that other post. So you're probably right. It's huge.
Yeah. So they're going to be the most well capitalized funded crypto project in the world. They already are, but 10x that, right? 10x that in this next bull.
20, right? That's
or 20, right?
How many Bitcoin? So they said they had 140 before. How many? 140,000. How many do you think they have? Just ballpark. Just give me a number.
Colin Talks Crypto speculated that his ballpark after that announcement was like, I'm kind of guessing. I think
that's worth more numbers.
It said like 200,000.
200,000. Okay.
But still, 200,000 is like what does all of these other corporations have? They have way less than that, right? Like, way more than that. I think the largest is Emily. You got to know this. What's the largest Bitcoin holder out there? Do you know?
I don't.
Isn't it like
so? If Bitcoin,
no, well, I know. What's their name?
Yeah, I know it too, but I can't remember the name.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, they're the largest. Jesus.
But you have PayPal. PayPal's been working up the ranks as well. They're buying a ton every week, right?
But here's the thing. They have their Bitcoin holdings, but they also have, close to 10%, if not 10% EOS. EOS will hit $100.
Who are you talking about?
Block One.
Yeah.
So Block One has the EOS, yeah.
Right.
Sure.
So they have they have 10% of all the EOS. What's that times 100 plus, right? So not only do they have their massive Bitcoin holdings, they have massive EOS holdings and other holdings that we're probably not even privy to, standard bonds, standard whatever, other investments, right? They've got a pretty slick strategy. So
it's interesting listening to you talk, because I always compared EOS to Apple. And I mean, now listening to you talk, I'm kind of thinking, yeah, EOS might actually be smarter than Apple. Like, I don't think Apple had those reserves, right? Like,
well, Apple's sitting on close to $500 billion in cash reserves.
Yeah, now, but not when they were not when they were like a computer company. When every other computer company was mooning, because that's
been in tech financial circles for a long time. So when Bitcoin hits 400,000, they're gonna have 80 billion.
Yeah. Yeah.
So and again, that's just in Bitcoin, and if they just locked it up and have it bouncing around the EOS ecosystem as this thing that you could just use, a branded token that is exposed to like as a price instrument, it's going to be
well, yeah. So here's the thing, and this is to kind of put the cherry on the cake of why I've never fudded Block One. I've questioned things, right? Naturally, because you go, that's odd, right? Right. But at the same time, I always go back to my knowing. One, Dan is a good human. Two, he's delivered. He knows what he's doing, and he's got a shit ton of cash behind him, which to a lot of people, having that kind of cash would kind of destroy them or corrupt them. Now, I've heard Dan, because Dan on one of his interviews, maybe it was with who's that guy that speaks really fast? Interviewed him. He's a developer. It'll come to me. Anyways, in one of his interviews with Dan Larimer, he goes, once you have so much money, more money doesn't make you happier. Like once you're comfortable, more money doesn't make you more comfortable, right? So he's already reached that place to where he's got enough money to where he's happy, right? He's not this guy that's going to go buy yachts and Ferraris, which he can, right? I'm not saying he can't. I'm just saying that's not him, right? He is really focused on creating game-changing technology that makes the world a better place. That's where he's coming from. I know that at my core. So that's where he's coming from, and he's got a shit ton of money to do that. And they've got 300 people working for them now at Block One. So that they've got some kick-ass talent, right? And they can afford to hire the best talent in the world to work with them. So they're gonna knock this bad boy out of the ballpark And I think people are going to step back and go, holy crap.
Yeah,
that's
kind of my gripe, actually. Well, there's two gripes in there, but let's go with the first one. My gripe is like, you're 100% right. Dan Larmer is not going to like squander away his fortune that he made out of developing. It's going to be his kids or his grandkids that do it. I mean, that's the way of the world, right? I'm sure Mr. Hilton was wonderful with money. And this is why Paris does the things that she does.
And thank God she does.
Yes, and thank God she does. I mean, there's some good things in there. I mean, there's some really good things in there. But yeah, like, I think you're 100% right. Like, there comes a point in time. The majority of people, I think, who do great things in this world, and this goes back to the time of Einstein, the time of Tesla, they're not concerned about money. They just want to do the shit they want to do. And I think the problem lies in the fact that, like, the majority of people who are invested in crypto right now, they have the ability to invest in whatever they want to invest in, but they think that it's a golden ticket for them to be able to get rich and do nothing. And this is where my gripe comes in. It's like, if you're waiting for Eos to moon so that, like, you can be a millionaire and just sit on the beach and do nothing, then I've got no time for you. Stop complaining, because, I just want to, if EOS price never goes up, but they like become the Apple of the blockchain community, I'm 100% happy. I want to see, like I mentioned earlier, something that's verifiable, something that is, workable, something that could potentially be applied to government, something that could potentially be applied to finance, to enable people in countries who are unbanked to be able to utilize this technology. I mean, I'm not really interested in being rich. If I was interested in being rich, I wouldn't be sitting here on a podcast with you guys doing this shit for free. I mean, I'm putting myself out there. That's pretty freaking scary, because, people are going to make fun of me, and I'm not making any money for it. So what am I doing here? You know what I mean? Like, I know, and Blue, I watched you from the early days, like your first podcast. I know you're feeling what I'm saying, like, it's like, once you get going, right? Corey's, he's a politician kind of at heart. So he does this on a daily basis.
Clearly.
The Corey movement.
That's terrifying. Or maybe good. I mean, if I was going to have a Corey movement at this point, I think the reason why I just flipped on that, away from it being a self-deprecating joke, is look at the two guys I'm hanging out with right now. If I was going to start a movement, having it be about, gratitude, about transformational technologies, about giving, about lifting other people up, I could not ask for a better position. Oh, and you can, do music and actually make a little bit of, wax on the side that might fucking 100x. Okay. All right.
Well, right. You're not wrong. I mean, a musician, an artist, and a permaculture / philosopher. I mean, that's go team. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, love it. I just keep thinking of this upstock.
What's that? What are you talking about?
Upstock. Woodstock, upstock, uplift.
Is that what our movement is going to be? The upstock movement?
I think it speaks a little bit clear, but if we were to do an upstock, it would have to be in a field surrounded by a recently planted permaculture forest.
Love that.
Right? I mean, that's once, and this is the thing, right? And I people who want to become millionaires and do nothing, I mean, they've probably been working a shitty job for a long time. So like giving people a moment off, I think is something I got to experience. I was really shitty at music for a long time, and then I got to do nothing but music for about 13 years. And there was a lot of space there where, I mean, the whole time I could do literally whatever I wanted to do. And that's something that people don't have generally. And I can't wait for all of them to experience that to whatever degree they would like to. The most creative sort of transformational moments in my life came after I sat around and got bored. And I think that might be a something that I would recommend to everyone. If you feel like you don't have time, carve out 20 minutes to sit there and very pointedly do nothing.
What was that? There was a book that was written that I really like. This guy. I think you're onto something there. There was a book that was written. The guy went through his house and he packed up everything into boxes. And at the end of a year, any box or anything that he hadn't taken out of the box, he threw out. It's kind of the minimalist lifestyle thing. But this is kind of what we need in our real world. Like, think about it. Like, you just said, take some time for yourself, right? Like, you're going out to meet friends. You're going out to do all of these things that you have to do. Take that time and think about it. Like, one of the things that I love about being here with you guys is, like, we get to go online and watch cool videos as we open packs and burn, NFTs to get like new cool collectible music videos. Like, 20 years ago, we were deadbeats. Now we're geniuses. Like, it's kind of ridiculous if you think about it, right? Like 20 years ago, the guy who played football that got the good, kind of job at the hardware center, he was the genius. But now,
I picked up the guitar. I've been pwning those guys for a long time. And honestly, that's for the record, the only reason why I picked it up. It worked. I was a piano player / keyboard player before that. Did not get the same result. Just if you're thinking about getting into music, take the time to learn guitar. It's just saying it works. But yeah, I had a much deeper thought after that, but I totally sidetracked myself. So anyway, carry on.
I probably sidetracked you.
No. What were you just talking about? Because I want to get it back.
I was talking about like this whole movement. We busy ourselves and we do too much.
How ridiculous it is that we're all talking about digital trading cards. So I interviewed the CTO of EOS USA. Great guy.
Awesome. He's great. Yeah.
Fun. He's really fun. And he got me into Alien Worlds. I hate him for that because it's probably going to eat a good percentage of my life, but fine. So we're talking about that. We're in a group actually with Anders talking about we were like comparing pieces of land and other stuff like that. And I realized at 6 o'clock this morning, there's a bunch of grown ass men talking about their playing cards on the internet. I was like, what happened? How is this even a thing? And we didn't even talk about the freaking Deadmau5 drop that just happened. The second person to put a music video on the blockchain. Just saying, he was not the first. That was that guy.
No, but was there? I know there was one NFT that had sound to it. Was it a full length song or was it a snippet? Or
I don't know.
Yeah, because I don't think it was. Because talking to Dennis from Uplift, he was in that pretty closely, and he said he was kind of disappointed that it wasn't centered around music. But I know there was one piece I think centered around music, or maybe that was an advertisement piece that I saw. I don't know. I don't know if any of the actual NFTs are musical or not. But from his perspective, he says, I was expecting them to be musical, but anyways, I got to dive into that because I don't know the answer to that. I know that one of the advertisements had music on it, but I don't know if the actual NFT does or not.
I didn't think about it that way. I actually thought it was quite interesting that Emanate, which is a long-standing, really valued project on the EOS blockchain, actually ported over to Wax to be able to bring this to the community. Yeah, I didn't think about what you were saying there.
I gotta get Emanate a rewards channel on Chirp one of these days. If you guys know anybody over there, I gotta talk to them. But that, and I love what they're doing anyway. Yeah, I don't think it was. I mean, I'm excited that Deadmau5 did it. I'm excited I got a little piece of it, whatever, right? But I definitely didn't see a lot of music. So there's that. But it's not gamified to my knowledge at all, right? It's like, here's some collectibles, and you have, which is great. But there's like freaking 9-dimensional chess if you're playing with Uplift.art, and it always will be, right? Like the entire Uplift team is constantly thinking, how do we value add for our community? And then the next day they just do it in a different way, and it's a much more beautiful situation.
Yes, Jimmy.
There's a gamified sweet spot, and I think Uplift Art achieved it. That game of like things can be over gamified. Let's just leave it at that. But like what was created and what will be recreated in the 23rd airdrop for the community crates, that's in my mind the perfect level of gamification. I can go on there, I can do what I want to do. I don't have to spend the whole day doing it. I think there's a really good sweet spot here. Like you said, Corey, I think there's going to become a time where if you're creating NFTs and they're not gamified, then they're just not going to be good. You know,
people will do it, right? Like if there's, especially like for higher end art and stuff, like there's a whole market that's developing that way, right? But at some point, I think people will realize, the smart ones will realize that you're missing an entire, layer of market that will be global and expansive, and only increase your exposure to more and more human beings by gamifying it and putting it out to the masses instead of two guys with $100 million.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like that's 100%. We're so much better with M-Blue here than just two guys. Like, imagine if we had this gamified NFT for this video. We could just take random screenshots of all of our faces, and then we could send them into a burn contract, and you could only watch this exclusive, EOS Weekly update if you burned those contracts and got all of our faces on the same screen, or there would just be like random moments of nothing speaking. But I mean, I would imagine that what would happen is, for the most part, people would figure out after 2 or 3 weeks that like just cutting Jimmy D out of the conversation made more sense. Like,
just what happens if you watch this with Jimmy only speaking backwards? Well, it still makes sense.
It pretty much sounds the same. It makes the same amount of sense, right?
Emily just sent me something I want to play into the show, and I think if we could, well, I'll drop this in the comments as well, so you guys can lift it out. I think everybody here knows what an NFT is, but you're going to start getting this question from every single person what the crap is Bitcoin, and you're like, Bitcoin's cool, but have you heard of NFTs? And they'll be like, what is that? So we want to make sure that you are armed to the teeth with a 2-minute way to explain to people what an NFT is, and you'll recognize the guy in this video. And here it is.
So what is an NFT? NFTs are used to make verifiable digital assets. This is in contrast to cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin that are fungible in nature, meaning the value stays the same no matter who has it. So if you have a Bitcoin and I have a Bitcoin, their value is always the same, right? Whereas if I have an NFT and you have an NFT, they will always have different values, because even if they look identical on the surface, they'll always have different mint numbers and metadata assigned to them. For example, this piece of art, my Bitcoin bull, is one of many on the Wax blockchain. You can see that they all look alike, but if you dive in, you'll see that there are some substantial differences. You'll notice that these NFTs are all created in consecutive order. They're minted one at a time and have their mint numbers associated to each different piece. From a collector standpoint, lower mint are more sought after and see premium prices. The same exact thing applies in the digital collector's world, with one huge benefit: instant verifiability of what you're buying and near instant liquidity, which means in an audience that appreciates said work, it can be put up for sale, verified and bought literally within seconds, not days or weeks that we see so often in the physical world. With blockchain, we can now instantly verify the provenance of anything that's been published on chain, and we can with certainty buy, sell, trade, and collect digital art and media in a secure, verifiable, and transparent manner. Now, for more information, please visit me at uplift.art.
Like a boss. Oh, I can't. Even just the clips.
So a little context for that. So I've been requested by people within the Uplift community to create an NFT explainer video so that they can go out to their friends and family and finally get them to kind of understand, peek behind the curtain, because friends and family think many of us are crazy when we talk about blockchain and especially NFTs, and they're kind of going, what, just stop talking, right? So my first attempt was like a 10-minute explainer video. Then I whittled it down to 4-minute explainer video. Now I finally whittled it down to 1 minute and 40 seconds. So what are you guys thinking?
Sorry, Jimmy, I muted you because you had stuff going on in your mic. Go on.
I'm sorry.
You're good.
I like it because I've seen like 4 or 5 of these videos, and if you haven't followed Blue Crypto on YouTube, go and do it because there's some great shit over there. Yeah, I like these explainer videos, and the reason I like them is because like they're super professional, and you tell me in the video title that you're gonna tell me about whatever topic you're telling me about in 1 minute, but it's always like 1 minute and 30 seconds, and it's amazing how much information you pack in there. But like, it's like when I get in there and I'm listening to it, I'm not thinking, oh, I'm only here for 1 minute. I'm thinking like, I want it to go longer. Like, why are you only giving me 1 minute? But then I realize it's like 1 minute, 30 seconds. And I'm kind of excited, you know, I got more for my buck than like, you know, advertising. It's awesome. I like it. I think it's great. I think that this should be your thing. Like when we were talking earlier about, you know, what happens when crypto goes mainstream? Like me and Corey, like we're still going to be in a back room on a YouTube channel somewhere, you know, talking to people randomly, and you're going to be on like Fox and CNN giving those video updates. So that's kind of the feeling that I got from it. You did a really good job. I really like it.
Thank you.
They should start pulling your material for news outlets. That's probably what we should just get Tiffany on that. I'm like, hey, you know some people.
Hey, do you guys? I didn't add any background music to that. Would you prefer it? Because it's just my vocal. Do you prefer it with some subtle music behind it?
It's really good the way it is.
Yeah,
but that would also be really good. I mean, you definitely don't need to. Like,
because then you can kind of bop your head and learn about NFTs too. Like, okay, NFTs, yeah, okay.
Right? the EOS thing or what have you. But I'm really fascinated with something called the mirror effect, right? Where the more times people hear something, the more they like it. That wasn't intentional in I'm Not the Bubble, but it works because you'll have your 3-year-old running around the house singing I'm Not the Bubble over and over and over again. Like it gets in your head, right? So maybe in that regard, like even like the last little bit where it's like a little bit of the guitar piece or whatever, I instantly recognize it and it links it. So maybe adding in music that people might end up being familiar with or might in the future be familiar with it. It's just one more hook to sort of, you know, embed a tiny little piece of their psyche into the uplift community, you know, overmind.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Yeah, and we're actually working on co-opting some of that. As we speak, we're not doing a very good job of doing it.
Oh yeah, no, I'm just gonna need to live on this show forever. That's why
we're totally co-opting Mike. If you're okay with it, we're totally co-opting Blue on the Moon for this show. That image to me is like one of my favorite images in the video where you're standing on the moon. There was a great meme from the Uplift community that said like, "Please don't let me go." That image, it was brilliant, but I just love that image, and I think like that's where we are right now. We're standing on the moon already. Like there is no rocket ship to the moon. We are standing on the moon. We're on the fringes of like, you know,
Mars, baby, Mars,
in a way that we've never understood it before, right?
Yeah.
My favorite round of Schipple memes that came out early is like, we're not going to the moon, we're going to Mars. And the Martian Schipple memes were among the very best. They were very, very good. Legit. So guys, we just blew 2 hours like it was a half an hour show.
Holy smokes, man.
Yeah,
so
I'm late for a date.
but I think if we're gonna wrap it up, that's cool. But I'd like to say 2 or 3 more things. So number one, the 23rd, be prepared for what's happening with Uplift Art. Next week, we don't know what's happening. The week after, we don't know what's happening. We looked at the calendar, and it's the 24th of December, which, you know, if we go any more than 1 hour, it'll be, you know, Christmas Day here. And it's the 31st of December. If it'll go any more than 1 hour, it'll be New Year's Day here, where I am, not where you guys are. You guys can get up early, you know, get on with your day and stuff. But I have some ideas for, like, you know, maybe some interesting show ideas for the next 2 weeks that I'm going to hash out with you, Corey, and Blue, if you're free at that time. Maybe you can join us as well. But I just want to say, you know, screw the show format. Let's get some guests on here. Let's just shoot the shit, because this was really fun. Like 2 hours seems like 30 minutes. I'm pretty stoked, and I hope all of our viewers are as well, because we seem to have a lot more viewers in here. And that's
next Thursday, we're definitely going to do more giveaways. It's going to be, right around Christmas. So I'm going to be, again, like somebody won a collector's edition from me from Uplift today, full music video, the whole 9 yards. They are very, very lucky. I'll probably give out some packs as well. We're still doing a huge giveaway on Chirp. So join chirp.la. Tag at Corey with your wax address anywhere on Chirp. I'll get notified, and we'll be able to get you some NFTs. I think I'm going to give away 20 over there, probably a couple packs as well today. So yeah, the Christmas one, I want to do a bunch of giveaways. There's a lot of reward channels now where just posting in Chirp channels, you're actually getting a little bit of cryptocurrency. There's like 10 officially now.
There was 2 today. Bigger was released, Prospectors was released, Tribe was released last week. Like all of these channels are hitting it up, and we have an EOSIO weekly channel that we might be able to.
If anyone
wants to sponsor us, right?
Yeah, if anyone wants to sponsor us, we'll take whatever cryptocurrency on the EOS blockchain you want to throw at us. We'll put it in that channel. We'll mention you constantly, and we'll have that as a reward channel for our thing. I talked to Cypherglass is actually going to be the first to use EOS in a channel. We're going to set that up. But we're changing the leaderboard. Long story short, like the first of the year, I wanted to do a huge promo for channel owners. To basically start to I think that the leaderboard is going to move to weekly, right? So whoever wins weekly is going to get what Max Infeld from Crown would call a perverse incentive. So I'm going to have just a massive, massive, massive reward for whichever channel manages to earn the most coins. But it'd be really cool to maybe around the show, Jimmy, around that day. Have as many people on as want to come on for like a 15-minute slot and do just a whole day of giveaways and set the year up to the point where it's just going to be massive. Yeah,
I mean, if just combing through the comments today, there were a lot of really cool people, and one of my favorite podcasts that I saw that I've been watching, since the time of the bear. They recently did this thing where they just would bring people like, trusted members of the community. They would bring them on for 2 or 3 minutes and let them air their grievances or say what they wanted to say. And I'm kind of thinking, why don't we do something like that on special events days? There's Bitcoin Blues Brothers was in the chat. Anders was in the chat. There are a few other people that we really like that were in the chat. Like maybe at some point in the future, we're not promising anything for next week or the week after, but maybe at some point in the future, we just allow people to jump in and talk to us for 2 or 3 minutes and tell us what they think about EOSIO, what they think of Bitcoin, what they think about Uplift Art, what they think about the Bitcoin Anthem, whatever. That's my idea. It might not go through, but
let's say it right now. We're definitely going to try that. And I think there's so many. It was people in the community today that made it all work, right? Like I was furious giving away NFTs in the comments until I couldn't keep up anymore. Fantastic. People are in the Chirp Telegram right now, making sure that people have starter coins. They just started doing it as a community because they know I'm not there. I was the only one doing it. So like people in the community are the only reason why any of this works. So having them come on to talk about even just what they're grateful for in the space, right? We don't even have to make it negative necessarily. We could frame it however the fuck we want and make it a positive and really fun experience. Because that's like community, whether it's Chirp or Uplift. That gets me. Like I see us all wanting to belong to something, wanting to believe in things, and that's what I get behind. And watching it move people to collaborate and do really cool things for each other is a really fun way to get up in the morning.
And with EOSIO Weekly and M Blue, we're all here for a hug. So
I'm ready. Man, I need a hug. Damn it! Hey,
like wow, come on, man.
And so for the next, say 10 minutes, I'll be in the Uplift Telegram channel. And if you post, I'm an uplifter, I'm going to send you a community or a supporter crate until I run out.
Dude, that's intense. So you might want to find the official Uplift Art channel on Telegram and get all up in there because M Blue's about to rock your world.
Yeah, and again on the 23rd, you can take all the commons that you get from those crates. You open them up on wax.atomichub.io. You open them up, and all of your commons, whether they're duplicates or not, you take 5, and you can upgrade those on the 23rd for Mr. Spaceman NFT MP3 video. That will be a key to unlock the full-length MP3 on uplift.art.
So we're probably going to finish up, but just to clarify that a little bit, Michael. So you can open the crates before the event, but where the burning happens will be that event actually.
Correct.
And is there a mint number associated with that? Is there a race for mints?
I got to ask Jonah.
Okay.
Jonah from Atomic Assets. He's the smart one of us, of the crew.
And shout out to Atomic Assets, because a lot of what Uplift Art has done actually has been in combination with them. And a lot of people might not know this, but like what they have collaborated on with you in particular to be able to get the last series out has just been amazing. And there's been some really cool things that have come out. You know, the ability to be able to target certain accounts for holding certain assets was an Uplift Art initiative. And from now on, you know, we're able to look into people's accounts essentially and see what they have and drop them promo videos in the future. And this is your, Uplift Art drops of goodness that's going to be ongoing, possibly to the infinity end of time.
You know what we should do, Blue? We should activate Shipple in the Uplift channel on Chirp. And if you're holding collector's editions of different rarities, that will increase the amount of Shipple that you get in the channel by some percentage. So I can work on that end, but we could totally gamify it so that the Chirp channel, the Uplift Chirp channel, will be looking to see what you have, and if you have these things that are qualified, then it'll increase the amount of Shipple that you get just for posting in the Uplift channel. You might be like, hey, I got this thing to sell. It's a comment, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Now, instead of getting 1,000 Shipple, you might get 1,200. Who knows?
Love it. Love it. Let's do it.
All right,
all over that.
All right, well, I mean, this song's just on now. I'm just going
to play us out then, Corey?
Yeah, let's do it.
All
Dude,
right.
thank you guys so much.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Oh, that was awesome. Yeah, I love it.
And again, you're all going to want to go throw your Wax address. Would you say you wanted to say, hey, we're all uplifters in the channel?
Yeah, I'm an uplifter. Damn it. I'm an uplifter.
Exactly.
Come on, baby.
Yeah.
Okay, just wait, because here's the best part.
Here it comes.
Japanese that means on time.
I'm not the bubble.
So yeah, I'm an uplifter. Throw it in the uplifter Telegram channel.
I'm not the bubble.
Come on.
I'm not the bubble. 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 I'm the I'm not the bubble. I'm not the bubble. I'm the I'm not the bubble. I'm the I'm not the bubble, 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 I'm the I'm not the bubble, I'm the I'm not the bubble, I'm the I'm not the bubble, I'm the
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. All right. cheers, guys. Next Thursday, 9
Cheers.
a.m. We'll give away some more stuff, talk to some more cool
Thanks,
people.
guys.
I got a lot of ChirpCast coming up.
Much
Subscribe to the
love.
channel, get after it, and we'll see you guys on the flip side. Ciao.
Ciao, ciao.